For those of us who've gotten pulled into advocating for our Second Amendment, I'm guessing, despite what the anti-gunners claim, it was not dollar signs, fame, or prestige that set most of us heading down this path. Let's be real, there are easier ways to make money and far more popular issues to volunteer your time working hard to advance. No, I'm going to say, for the most part, the truly dedicated Second Amendment advocates are built different. Easy money with minimal effort is not our motivation. The issues at stake are ones we feel so strongly about that we are more than willing to engage in all the uphill battles that are necessary to see things put right, no matter how long it takes. That doesn't mean there won't be times, regardless of how strong the commitment, when we each, as individuals, will reach our first or our 101st brick wall of frustration. For me, it was mid-February 2024 as Missouri's session abruptly ended movement on all Pro-2A legislation following Kansas City's Super Bowl parade shooting. In the midst of it, feeling particularly low and wondering out loud if my advocacy efforts were making any difference at all, a former representative friend, Sonia Anderson, reminded me, "You're keeping the issue alive." Those 5 words, served up in an undramatic, matter-of-fact tone, managed to deliver a 180 mindset reversal the moment they reached my ears. I want to share with you why that is, along with ways to adjust how you look at your advocacy goals and objectives to help reduce the level of frustration, the level you let frustration have on you, or something like that. Here's hoping something shared can help the next time you feel the frustration mounting. Everybody likes to know that their efforts are worthwhile and contributing positively to the cause. You can't put in determined, die-hard effort day after week after month after year without wondering what good it's doing. The easiest and most welcome way to gauge if your work has been successful is through achieving the goal. The bill gets signed into law, or you help get it killed. The case wins in court, or you help defeat it. Sweet success. Now on to the next goal. But what do you do when the prospect of achieving the goal is clearly going to be out of reach for a long time? What if there's even a chance that you won't live to see it happen in your lifetime? Frustrating, yes? Frustration shows up when you find yourself unable to change something or to achieve a targeted goal. The harder you've worked to try and make it happen, the more frustrated you can become, especially if you've tied all your visions of success directly to that end goal. Instead, assess the given situation you find yourself working towards. Is the ultimate goal attainable? If so, what's the realistic time frame of that look like? If we're talking several years or possibly even after you're gone, please do yourself a favor right now. Take a moment to visualize yourself cutting the string that ties the concept of your work's value directly to the thing. If through no lack of effort on your part, that goal is out of reach, then it's not being fair to you to be grading yourself by that alone. When you find yourself in a situation that's beyond your control, the one thing you do control is what you do about it. This is where I found myself that day back in 24. I couldn't see my way past the anger and frustration, not until I heard those words Sonia spoke. In the short span it took to hear her say it, I had done the assessment and acknowledged to myself whether or not I ever see that bill pass, This was still my fight, and the Missouri legislature had not seen or heard the last of me. If you, if you continue on, while allowing yourself to remain easily frustrated, your level of performance or effectiveness may start to slip. It's hard to give something your best when you're upset or easily irritated. Frustration is a powerful motivator. A person can give in, allowing it to radicalize them. They can throw their hands up in defeat and walk away, or they can find the fortitude to push ahead with the championing of their ideals in a positive, purposeful, and consistent manner, determined to keep the issue alive on their watch. While in the midst of the work, it is often difficult to gauge whether or not you are making an impact. People may be telling you you're doing a great job, but if you don't see any tangible evidence of the needle moving in your favor, then how can you be sure? I've often thought how nice it would be to have the ability to see behind the curtain, so to speak, to find out just exactly what impact, if any, an individual's advocacy efforts might bring about. So I decided to ask some of the people who happen to be in a position to know what they would suggest are some of the more important or helpful efforts that 2A advocates should engage in. The single word used most often was consistent, followed by reliable, and then presence or showing up. Other suggestions included building relationships with staff and office holders, sharing pertinent information, telling personal stories that put a face to the issue, and then encouraging and or mobilizing others to engage in the process. Story time. Living 2.5 hours away from the Capitol, I like to stay overnight if there's reason to be there 2 days in a row. And this is what I had done for a couple of hearings on a Monday with our gun rights rally the next day. At the rally, a freshman, she was female, but a freshman representative, when speaking to the crowd, announced she had just been told her Pro 2A bill had just been scheduled for hearing the following afternoon. Having already been there 2 full days and with no more outfits packed, I thought, well, shoot, I need to go introduce myself and apologize for being unable to make it to her hearing. So I made my way over to where she would step off stage, introduce myself, and explain to her that I wouldn't be able to make it. I was taken aback when her face did not hide her disappointment as she said, I've been watching all the hearings and thought, well, at least she'll be there to speak in support. Think about that. Someone I'd never met or spoken to was already counting on me being there for her bill. Why would she be led to expect that of me? Perhaps it was because I hadn't missed being there for any of the other firearms-related bills that had already been heard during session. And we're not talking just the hot button issue bills either. Every single bill related to firearms or self-defense, I was there having something to say about it. Before I could even answer her, another representative approached to thank me for always being there, always being here. I laughed and said, oh man, I was just telling her I wasn't gonna make it to testify, and then you come up being all nice and bragging on me. So I turned, looked her in the eye, and said, let me talk to my husband. Her response, tell him I was giving you the sad puppy dog eyes. Now, he doesn't like me being on the highways any more than necessary. So he told me he'd prefer I just stay overnight again and he'd keep feeding my hound dog. That evening, The representative posted about the scheduled hearing on her official page, so I commented, "I'll be there 100%. Wearing the jeans and Women for Gun Rights t-shirt I had traveled up in with the blazer already worn 2 days straight, I then spent the entire day sitting around the Capitol waiting for the hearing that unfortunately wasn't scheduled until after the House had adjourned for the day. Despite the long day, I was so glad that I was there because so was the woman from Mom's Demand. It was just me and her. I wouldn't have forgiven myself had I been at home watching her testify without being countered. Her testimony bemoaned how bad Missouri's loose gun laws are, how we need stronger gun safety measures, and closed by saying that the state not allowing urban areas to restrict firearms makes our streets more dangerous. My testimony, which came after hers, included a personal story that served as an example of how the topic at the heart of what was being discussed, disarming young adults, could wrongly impact the ability of a young woman to effectively protect themselves, such as in my case, discovering you're being stalked by someone you barely know. I closed with, that younger version of me had just as much right to defend herself as the woman who's sitting here today. Which testimony do you think stuck with them longer? This example of advocacy on the fly contains all but one of the top advocacy efforts previously mentioned. It just goes to show your impact can reach farther than you are even aiming for. A couple more responses I want to share. This one is from Representative Burleson's communications director. Congressman Burleson often talks about how real reform requires shifting the Overton window, moving what seems possible in the public debate so that stronger protections for liberty can actually be enacted. That doesn't happen overnight. It happens because advocates show up, testify, write letters, and encourage others to stay engaged. Lastly, women gun owners are currently in the enviable position of finding our voices cutting through and being heard above the usual debates. Legislators aren't yet used to us showing up to testify in support, let alone hearing us bring impactful personal stories, pertinent information, and thoughtful arguments to back up our stance. As one Missouri senator's chief of staff put it, you bring a woman's voice and perspective to this issue, which I believe is powerful. So, if you find yourself operating in an environment fraught with frustration, concentrate on bringing your best to the efforts within your control and consider your work worthy and well done. You may not be the one who gets to stand beside the governor while he signs the legislation you advocated on behalf of for decades. You may not be the one standing on the steps of SCOTUS holding up the favorable opinion, but you will be the one that those people look back upon and credit as being among the tenacious fighters who, despite the odds, never gave up, never backed down in the face of unsurmountable odds and ruthless opposition. You will be among the few who kept the issue alive, and they will thank you for it. Thank you.